Hi, I'm Coach Corey Wayne. This is my video coaching newsletter, and the topic of today's newsletter is going to be dating for 30 days and no signs of any red flags. Well, this particular email is from a viewer. He's been dating a woman for about a month now, and he's vetting her. He's focused on her actions, how she treats him, and he's asking all the right questions. And so there's one little wrinkle is that she's kind of long distance, so she's 2 hours away. So when you're dating somebody long distance, it's going to take a lot longer to vet them because people can typically hide who they are for about 90 days. And usually what happens if you're following what's in the book, you get about 2 months in, she's going to be stuck to you like a sucker fish. But if she's 2 hours away, you're probably just getting together in the weekends. And so it's going to kind of spread that timeline out. Because again, people can hide who they are for about the first 90 days of dating. But if they're 2 hours away, it's a lot harder because you're just not going to spend as much time with them as if you would when they only live like maybe 10, 15 minutes away. And so what he's noticed is that in the past, usually when he gets 30 days in, the red flags are pretty obvious. He spots them, undesirable behavior, some kind of fuckery going on, exes in the background, just all, comes from a broken home, that kind of stuff. And they're easy to spot. And so this one, things are going pretty well. And he's like, am I just focusing on looking for problems where there are none? And so he's like, how would I approach it? So it's a good email because this is not so cut and dry of trying to determine what this person is like. Because again, you got the added wrinkle that she's kind of long distance. So he says, Dear Corey Wayne, I'm a 31-year-old living in the U.S., and I've been following your work since 2019 after a 7-year relationship breakup. Your teachings have really shaped who I am and how I interact with women. I've read your book over a dozen times and will continue to reread it twice a year. Well, the best way to read and really learn this information is... The dogs are going... Can you guys hear that? That'd be interesting. So all the 3 puppies are just 8. Now they got a ton of energy and they're going berserk in the living room. I'm sure they're tearing some shit up right now. But, so the best way to read this is to read it 10 to 15 times. If you really want to get this stuff into your brain, you're not going to be listening to it as background noise or listening to the audiobook when you're working out at the gym or playing it through your speakers in your house or you're working on your car and it's playing in the garage or whatever. Or just driving and listening to it while you're doing other things. Because the idea is you want to focus your brain on the material as much as possible without any distractions so you can retain as much as possible. Because the more distractions you have, like I said, if you're driving and listening to it, or you're working out and you're intermittently stopping and interacting with people or talking to people, it's not really concentrating on it. It's kind of listening to music in the background. So the best way, the most effective way, is to put the audiobook on 2-speed and then follow along in a digital or physical copy. Because what it does, it forces you to look at the page as the words are being spoken. And if you're using audible.com with the Whisper Sync and the Kindle edition, what's nice about that is the Kindle edition, the words get highlighted as they're being read by the audiobook. So it really helps you focus on it without any distractions. And that's the most effective way to learn it and make sure you retain it as quickly as possible. And then maybe every 6 months you go through it once. There's like puppy hair floating around. I don't know, you guys probably can't see it on camera, but it's like I move in here and it just stuff kind of floats around everywhere. Even though they're poodles, they don't really shed much, but still, because they got their puppy hair, which is long and straight and like really soft, it's like it comes out and it's just like you sit down in the chair and just little bits of it float around. And it seems to always like come and stick to my face. Sticks on my nose, and it's just the way it is. So if you wonder, like, what the hell is he doing? It's like I'm dodging puppy hairs, basically. So, back to our email. He says, your teachings have really shaped who I am and how I interact with women. I've read your book over a dozen times and will continue to reread it twice a year. I've had many successful experiences with women, always keeping the mindset, do I like this girl? Is she good for me? Does she make my life easier? Is she easygoing and easy to get along with. In other words, does she make your dick hard and not your life? Women that make your life hard, just imagine trying to parent or co-parent with a woman who's just a pain in the ass, angry, upset, moody, being difficult, mouthy, talking back to you, too much boss girl energy, just being a combative pain in the ass. Because there's plenty of women in the world that were raised in environments like that. And so that's normal. And so if that's what they think is normal when they interact with you, they're going to act like how they think things are normal. Now, in the beginning, they're typically going to hide all that because they're trying to be on their best behavior. But once they get comfortable, typically after about 90 days, and again, what typically happens if you're following what's in the book, by week 6, week 7, she's going to be in love with you. And if you're living, like most people, 10 to 15 minutes from each other, she's going to be at your house or you're going to be at hers. She's just always going to be with you. And so when you're with each other that much, you really get to know each other. But again, in this case, this girl's 2 hours away, so it might take 6 months to a year to spend enough time with her to where she feels comfortable and you've been around her enough to kind of see what she's like on her good days, her bad days, when she's about to get her period, when she's on her period, how that affects her. Is she on birth control or is she not on birth control? Some women are, if they're on birth control, it's like dealing with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde around the time that they get their period. Other women are more even-keeled. What you always want to be looking for is, did her father do a good job raising her? In other words, when she would go bananas when she was young, would he calm her down and put her in her place and reprimand her and tell her that behavior and those outbursts are inappropriate? But if she doesn't respect the dad's a beta male, she walks all over him, the mother walks all over him, the other sisters walked all over him, he's kind of a pushover, people pleaser. She grew up not respecting her father, and if she doesn't respect her father, she's not going to respect men in general, and she's certainly not going to respect you. It's just the way they are. So if they come from a broken home, there's a much higher incidence that they're just going to be too screwed up to be considered for long-term relationships. I've just found girls that are raised by good families and strong households where dad is the man, pretty easygoing, pretty easy to get along with. And when you tell them no, or you want things to be a certain way, they respect that. But women that come from a broken home, or dad's a pussy, he's soft and he's squishy, they don't take no for an answer. They keep coming at you from 15, 20 different directions because they're used to just annoying you and nagging you until you just like, all right, fuck it. We'll just do whatever you want to do. Just get off my ass. So you got to pay attention to these things. Just because a girl says she loves her dad doesn't mean that he did a good job. Is she calm? Is she easy to get along with? Does she communicate well? Or does she blow her top and yell and scream and curse you out and hang up on you, and then not speak to you and give you the silent treatment for 4 or 5 days, or stonewall you when you're trying to work things out? You can't solve problems unless you can talk openly and honestly about them. And if the girl's raised in a chaotic environment, there's no dad, or dad just did a shitty job, it's going to be very difficult to have an easy and effortless relationship with them. That's why it's important, if you want a long-term relationship, especially if you want to get married, involve the government in your relationship, that you date a woman who was raised by a good father, who's a strong man. They're rare, but they're definitely out there. Recently, I met a woman on paper who checks all my boxes and is an absolute rocket. She's fully in her feminine, does nearly all the pursuing by reaching out after we see each other, and is the most giving person I've ever met. She lives 2 hours away. The first 2 times she visited me, and the third time I went to her because I wanted to see her space. Yeah, you want to get an idea, what's her house like? Is it clean? Is it messy? Is her car nice and clean? Or is there shit everywhere? We've now spent time together 3 times for several days each. During my recent visit, she asked how I see her. When I asked for clarification, she asked, "What am I to you?" And I asked her what she wanted to be, and she said, "Your girlfriend." I told her I would love that, and she said in her mind I was already her boyfriend. See, that's pretty easy. She tells me I'm extremely masculine and that she feels very safe with me. Needless to say, attraction is high, but it almost feels too good to be true. My question is really about this feeling. Maybe it's from years of dating women and always noticing something that didn't sit right. I know we haven't reached the 90-day mark yet. We're only about a third of the way, but how do I ensure I'm properly vetting her without asking direct or crass questions? Well, again, if you're 2 hours away, that 90-day time period is going to get stretched out to probably 6 months to a year at least, just because you're not able. Again, you've seen her 3 times. That's kind of the equivalent of having 3 dates. And so it's just going to take you a lot longer because really you're kind of 30 days in, and it's just you don't spend enough time around her because she can go back to her life and you don't know her friends, you don't know anything about her because you're just not around her very, very much, and vice versa. So when you do see each other, she's going to be on her best behavior, so it's going to be tougher to discover it. That's why you got to remain objective, especially if you're dating somebody long distance and you're doing planes, trains, and automobiles to get to one another. Which that can be fun, but it gets to be a pain in the ass. Again, the big thing to look for is, what's your relationship with your dad like? Are you close to your family? Those are good questions to ask. Is your dad the man of the household, or is he a little soft and squishy? Could you kind of push him around and nag him to get your way with him? Or will he stand up and put you in your place and tell you when you're out of line? Those are the kind of things you want to know, and you can ask. A girl who really loves and respects her father, trusts his authority, when he says this is what we're doing, that's it. That's the bottom line. He decides it, and then everybody goes along with it. But if she doesn't respect the dad wasn't strong, dad wasn't masculine, dad wasn't alpha, if he's a fucking beta male softy, she ain't going to respect him or you or men in general. And that's not your fault, but you do have to notice it. So he says, every woman before had clear red flags or missing pieces. This one doesn't, and that's making me feel uneasy, like I'm searching for something to be wrong. It's kind of funny because as I was reading this email, it reminded me of one of my really close friends. Very successful guy. He basically retired when he was in his late 20s, cashed out from Silicon Valley. And basically he's traded stocks and lived his life and traveled the world. Had girlfriends that, he did a lot of planes, trains, and automobiles when he was younger. And his current girlfriend he's been with now like 10 years, I remember him when he was telling when they first started dating, he was just like, I can't find anything wrong with her. She's successful, comes from a good family, got a good relationship with her dad. She, makes multiple 6 figures a year. Actually, no, I take that back. She makes millions a year. So she's very good. She's in sales. High income, high net worth. She doesn't need him for anything. She's totally wealthy on her own. But she has months where she makes multiple 6 figures. Especially the last few years. She's just been killing it with the way real estate's been. But, they've been together for a decade. And the reason why he stayed with her is because he dated girls that were way hotter, way prettier than her, but didn't have the good attitude, wasn't calm and trying to communicate and work things out, or was doing dodgy shit. And this girl she's very loyal, loves him, takes him everywhere. They spend a lot of time hanging out with her friends and her clients just because of the business that she's in. And he appreciates that because he really doesn't do anything other than trade his stocks, which doesn't really take a lot of time because he's been doing that for like 30 years now, since he basically kind of retired. So everything he does, he boats, he makes music, he has a good life. And even though there are other women out there that are hotter and younger and have interest in him, his girlfriend's just pretty even keeled. And so he's, like I said, the one thing, he's just like, I can't find anything wrong with this girl. He's like, it scared him at first because he's like, if I can't find anything wrong with her, that means I got to stay with her because it's so good. Because just like in the past, he noticed other women, pretty early on that there were things that were a little off with them. And so it made it easy when it came time to end things because it's like they just didn't measure up. But this one just made things so good and there's nothing wrong with her. They get along great. So things have been easy and effortless. So you got to take it on a day-by-day basis. The thing that you got to keep in mind is you're 2 hours away. So your vetting window gets pushed 6 to 12 months out before you can really spend enough time with each other to know. But things, again, like I said earlier, what I would ask is, what's your relationship with your parents like? Are you close with your dad? Is your dad the man of the house? In other words, when he decides this is what we're going to do, does your mom respect that? Or does she nag him and push and prod him, and eventually he caves and gives in just to get her off his back? So it's important to find out how they resolve conflicts in the family. Again, I've just found if dad does a good job and he's in his masculine, all the girls respect him in the family, and they do what he says. They don't countermand him. They don't nag him. They're not condescending towards him. They don't start fights or drama. They worship their fathers. And whatever daddy says is what they do. And so that's what you got to look for. So other than that, he says, he says the last sentence here, he says, every woman before had clear red flags or missing pieces. This one doesn't. And that's making me feel uneasy, like I'm searching for something to be wrong. Well, you're just not used to dating women like this. Because if every woman before has had clear red flags or missing pieces or things that were fucked up, like I said, like when I read this email, I instantly thought of my close friend. Because, again, when they started dating, even to this day, he was like, I can't find anything wrong with her. And he's like, he knew he was kind of screwed because when you find red flags or things that are fucked up, it's easy to dip. But when she makes it so good, makes it easy for you, it's like you stick around because, again, she makes your dick hard and not instead of you making your life hard. And there's a high incidence of women in society, especially Western society, that will make your life hard and not your dick. And that's a fucking drag. So if you got a question or a challenge and you want to get my help, go to understandingrelationships.com, click the products tab at the top of your screen on any page on my website and book a coaching session with yours truly. If you haven't already signed up for our paying members only content, in the video description of this video, there are links to join on YouTube, or you can join on Spotify or our website. With our website, you can do a 7-day free trial so you can check out what content you get for your money. And if you choose an annual plan, you get a 25% discount for paying the whole year's premium up front. So go to understandingrelationships.com, click the plans tab at the top of your screen on any page, or click the link in the video description and sign up for a 7-day free trial. And today at 2 p.m., we're doing another viewer question live stream on YouTube. So if you just go to my YouTube channel at Coach Corey Wayne, click the live tab, just click on the live stream that's scheduled for today. So we have one tomorrow, which is Thursday, which will also be at 2 p.m. And then Fridays is at 1 p.m. And we do it for 2 hours. And whatever questions you got, just drop them in the chat. So we'll see you in the live stream, or we'll see you in the members area. And until next time, we'll talk to you soon.